Spidey here, and as always, I hope you're having a marvelous day. Got a fun show planned for you tonight, a little recap show with a friend that I met at OAX, and that is my buddy, Eranga. What's up, dude?
What's up, Justin? How you doing, man?
I'm well. It's not every day that you give somebody a lot of money before you get to become friends. But that's kind of what happened here, and you know, for those who don't know, it's been a couple of weeks, I guess, now since the original Art Expo, the inaugural event that happened in Orlando. An incredible event. You probably have seen stuff either here on the channel or on social media, and it was mainly an original art expo that was focused on the original art of comics primarily and comic cards, which is really what had me there as well. They had an auction that night, and I honestly didn't have any intention to bid on really anything that night, but I saw a piece of art by you, and it just blew me away, and I ended up bidding quite a bit of money.
Look, man. I mean, if we're gonna kick the show off with a love fest, let me tell you, you buying that piece kind of was the highlight, one of the major highlights of OAX for me. I don't know if you knew this or not, because I think you were sitting um, way up front,
I
right?
couldn't see anything behind me.
Yeah, and I was probably to the right of you at one of
Mhm.
those tables,
Yeah.
maybe just like a slightly behind. And the second my art popped up on the screen, I walked out of the room.
Oh,
I get
wow.
anxious, dude. So I can't be in a room when that kind of stuff goes on. So I walked out. So most of what happened during that session is a fog to me, because I literally I just walked out and I was kind of just outside the entrance
Yeah.
to the hall, and people were like, "Come on back in," and I was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna stay like right here." So I could hear stuff going on, and Nick Barucci and Jimmy Palmiotti, who were the auction. What do you call them? The
Auctioneers.
auctioneers. There you go. That's the word.
Yeah.
I could hear them going, but there were people trying to talk to me and whatever. And ultimately, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I think it got up to a certain price, and I was like, okay, like that's I'm glad. And let me be crystal clear, man. It wasn't about like how much money it would go for
Right.
or whatever. It's just weirdly uncomfortable, like being in a room when something you did is up there.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, once it got to a certain price, it people started, there was a little bit of a rumble. I don't know if you, because I watched Bill Cox, who's one of the organizers in Castra. They sent me a video of the auction feed.
Oh, do you have it?
It's actually on the Comic Card Live channel, but like I also have the video, so it's
Yeah, maybe we can pull it up here in a little bit and let people get a taste
sure.
of that. Of that.
Yeah, and so they have
Moment.
I mean, it's basically just focused on Jimmy and Nick,
Yeah.
just kind of running it up, and it's hilarious, man. And you can hear, like, once it kind of gets to a certain point, like this rumble in the audience starts building, and then like people are applauding, and it was just like it's
Yeah.
just crazy, man. It was a really really cool thing for me, and if I could like bottle up like how I felt like after the auction, not basically when the picture popped up, but like kind of when it because people were just like thrilled, and they were just high fiving and stuff, and then of course getting to meet you, which was a huge bonus. Thank God you turned out to be cool. I was like,
Yeah, that's right. Well, I appreciate that. I'll tell you that, I was very happy to get the piece, and we'll share that here in a little bit. Um, but to be able to meet you afterwards and immediately feel that energy that, it's I don't know, it feels like you felt it immediately too. Like, okay,
right,
wow, like this is a cool dude, somebody I want to get to know, maybe be friends with, right?
right, for sure.
And I was like, oh, this is even more perfect because the art captured me immediately because I didn't see it prior to the auction. I didn't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah, so I had no recollect. I had no knowledge of, oh, there's going to be this item that I'm wanting to bid on, and this is just me being honest. I would love to tell you that I prepare for these expos and these cons and I'm ready. I know every artist and where I'm going to go and who I'm going to get stuff from. I didn't, my brain arrived in Orlando probably a few hours after I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so it's just where I'm at in my life right now, unfortunately.
sure.
And so I'm just sitting there having a good time. That's really what I'm committed to. It's just being present at that moment. And then I saw that piece come up and I was like, yeah, I've got to have this because it's going to be my memento that I'm going to be able to attach this incredible weekend with. And, then the bidding started happening and it didn't stop till it hit, I think a number that, I think it was worthy of the piece. Let me just go ahead and say that I was very happy to pay that. And it just, the piece felt important to me. And I still think it has a chance to even grow in its importance. And, maybe that happens too. But I actually forgot to send an image of it to my computer here, but do you have an image of it on your computer or know how to get to the website on CAF to pull it up real quick?
Oh yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I have the scan right here, man.
Sweet.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna make for riveting TV while
Oh,
I look
dude.
for it right here.
Hey, man. They're all right. They're good. We'll say, actually, I need to say hello to some people. So let me do that real quick. We got
Sure.
Emil here hanging out. What's up? Number one Marvel fan was also there at OAX with us. And he's actually watching both shows, ours and Kappa's show. Interglobal's here. Donnie Boy, what's up? Good evening. Yeah, having a good day. What's up, Russ? Speaking of artists, we got Andre Meister. This is one of the artists who just finished doing work for Fleer Ultra Midnight Suns, which is one of the new Marvel trading card sets. So he's
Oh, rad. Yeah.
he was already an accomplished artist, but he is now a Marvel published artist. So very cool for him.
Congrats, Andre.
What's up? Jason Harris is here. Is that a buddy of yours?
Yeah, Jason Harris. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. ML, my buddy
Yeah.
Mikhail, Jason, the Ambrosia. So they're splitting loyalties between two shows right now, which is
Well, look, we didn't mean to tread on CAF, but actually, I guess I've been treading on them for a while. I normally, historically, for the channel, do shows live on Tuesday nights. Uh,
yeah. So they're treading on your territory.
no, that's not true. They're much more important than I am. That's for sure. Let's see. According to Rob Manick's cousins, who is that? What's a Larry? No, okay. He says, "I'm here now." Bye, Larry. What's Larry? According to Rob.
So Larry is the guy that's moderating the show on the CAF channel right now.
I got you.
He's a friend of ours too. So yeah.
My friend Derek's here. What's up, buddy? And a number one Marvel fan says that you're an awesome artist. That's sweet.
Well, thanks, bud.
I
I did meet him at OAX too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's he was telling me about his Marvel collection. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
T Bear. Oh, look, Manu's here. Manu, look at your replacement. I'm just kidding. Manu is normally my co-host on the live shows that I would do on Tuesday night.
All right.
I'm kidding. Manu is my
sorry, buddy. It's I don't know if you read the title of the show, but it's we just become best friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Manu is a legend. He's a wonderful guy, and very much happy to see him in the chat. Alex and Alonzo, what's up? Alonzo was there at OAX with us, hanging out, and he's a legend himself. So,
what's up, Alonzo?
Very cool. Oh, Manu, there's no competition, bud. You're in a class of your own. He's awesome. But I have to tell you that, for me in that moment, in that auction, like I'm sitting there and I'm, I see your art and it's large, like it's really big. I'll show that in a second. And,
can I ask you a question real quick? Sorry to interrupt, but so the first time you saw it was when it popped up on the auction screen?
Absolutely.
No way. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm like, oh, I've got to have that because it immediately hit me in. I think if you were drawing that for an audience, you were drawing it for an audience that, grew up in the early to mid 90s, hitting us right at late 80s, early to mid 90s. and it definitely had that. I hate to mention another artist, but I think you mentioned it, so I'll say it. But it had that Jim Lee-esque feel to it, you know.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I think you understand that's a compliment, right?
No, I do, and I leaned into it for sure.
Yeah, it was like, oh wait, there's my X-Men. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely,
There they
absolutely.
are. I've been waiting for them to make an appearance, and there they are. Huge Wolverine fan growing up. I'm particularly a Spider-Man fan,
Mhm.
and I'll just make this little caveat. I'm a Spider-Man fan because you have to kind of pick a lane. People want you to have just one, and it's expensive. But I love both of them very much. But for X-Men, Wolverine was my number one. But Gambit, I have a twin brother, and my brother loves Gambit.
Oh,
And
okay.
so you slayed Gambit on this piece. It's wonderful. And
Thanks,
so I
man.
see that, and I love that you got the actual like size of Wolverine correct. You know, he's not too big. He's not Hugh Jackman, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but then it says OAX in these big letters. And it was done in such a way that just like really captured me with them hanging out on it. I'm like, well, this is kind of how I see this event. It's like these are, it's obviously superhero theme, it's OAX, but it's like this group, this community that's together, right? This team together at
Yeah.
OAX. And I just was captivated by it. So I just started bidding, boom, boom, boom. Um, and I'm thinking that I have it, right? And maybe we'll show the video in a little bit, but I'm like, I think I'll probably get it at about 1100, or whatever the number was. I can't remember what the number was, but nope, here comes another bid and then another bid. Next thing you know, I think we ended up at what? Was it 2,500?
That was the final hammer. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
talked to the two underbidders. Your two underbidders
Uh-huh.
came up to talk to me afterwards. They were like, "Man, this dude just wasn't letting it
Nope,
go." So,
I wasn't. I was
so
right. I was like, if I'm at that number, I'm at this number. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I was like, I'm already there. Let's just go home with it. So
yeah. I've been there, man. That's generally how you end up broke.
yeah. Well,
But no, it's
there's a
yeah.
lot of truth to that, but I thankfully had a little bit of an ace up my sleeve in terms of that. But it was the only piece I bid on that whole night, and was really glad I won it. So
Yeah, the other two, one came and talked to me. And here's a really cool thing about what happened, right? Um, ah, thanks. Just FYI, that's 4C. They're my art reps. I think that's Ken on
yeah,
there. So yeah, thanks, Ken.
yeah, Ken, we appreciate you. Do we have to go through Ken to get your art?
Generally, yes. When I do commission lists, etc., that's my guy. That's the team. They also represent like Bill Morrison and stuff like that. But
Oh, Bill,
yeah,
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So
So they were actually there with Bill. But
oh,
I
so I
was
probably
more.
met him because I got him to do my daughter a commission.
Oh, really? Yeah, you probably did. You probably did. There,
My
there.
my daughter, who's now 17, has watched every episode of The Simpsons 3 times.
No way.
She'll tell you that it takes 4 months for her to get all 30 plus episodes in.
Oh, wow.
And so when I saw that he was there, when I saw Bill Morrison was there, I was like, "Hey, you gotta do something for my daughter." And she is she's into Broadway. Long story short, very very into Broadway. So I wanted to do something kind of tailored towards that. And so he did Bart Simpson saying, "Break a leg, Ashland." That's her name. And
Uh,
then this like word bubble coming off the paper, which is like her responding. It says, "Bart, I don't think that means what you think it means." Like those are actually break a leg, but it's actually good luck. So
yeah,
it was
yeah,
so
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. And Bill's just awesome people, man. He's just
Oh yeah.
he's a super cool cat. He did.
So yeah.
I commissioned him once when we were on a live stream.
Uh-huh.
Um, I had him draw me like Simpsonize me,
Yeah.
but in a Quickie Mart get up. And he was kind of hesitant at first. I was like, dude, I promise you, like I want this. So he put like an employee of the month thing on it,
No,
and
come on. You just
yeah, it's fantastic. It's
that's
fantastic.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's
That
the
is so
best.
funny. All right, I'm gonna show people this. So this is just I have it in my portfolio because Eranga had to actually help me get it in here because it's. But the thing
There's
is
the top half.
that's only half of it. The other half is underneath here, which is where Wolverine and Jubilee is.
I do have the image pulled up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Um,
Do you
I
know how to share
don't.
screen?
You
At
don't
the
know
bottom
how to screen.
it says present.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, dear God, let me have closed out all my other windows.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm good. I'm good.
Put all
I'm
the
good.
other stuff away.
All right, let's see.
There we go. All right, I'm gonna share it. There it is. And so what you can't see whenever I was holding this up is that it folds out and it's so you can get that full image. Yeah, Manu, it really is such an amazing piece.
It's 17 by 22, so it's a comic book art board is 11 by 17, so it's basically just two boards put together. I mean, it's the inaugural event. I mean, it's funny you mentioned it was the OAX that got you. um I started with the concept of having the letters in there and then figured out, okay, I'm going to put the X-Men in there. So that's kind
Wow,
of how it went.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's really it's again it's continuing with the love fest. That's why I love that you got it, because I was really hoping that whoever ultimately ended up winning it kind of associated both of those things together. They weren't just
Mhm.
X-Men fans, but they enjoyed being at OAX and they wanted a memento, from the show, something that commemorated it. And so yeah, that came together perfectly, man. And the fact that I didn't prompt you or anything, the fact that you
Nope,
said that
I didn't know who the artist was.
yeah, no, don't. My mom doesn't know who the artist is. Just
I mean, if that wasn't, I would love to say that I'm, more aware of the art community, like the artist community. In fact, I felt pretty, I don't know, pretty vulnerable is the right word, but I kind of felt at risk coming to the show because on YouTube, I show my face a lot, right? So if someone watches the channel, they get to know my face and you can see it with a name. With art, I get the image, and sometimes you can connect the image to the name. It doesn't always happen, right? But
right.
even then, you don't get to connect the face to that. And so I was like, man, there's a like, what if one of these artists that I actually really love, but I don't recognize because I don't know their face that well, going to come up to me and I'm going to be totally embarrassed because I'm be like, they're going to introduce themselves and I'm going to be like, oh, I should have already known who you were.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and so, but which is another reason why, OAX is really special because you actually got to meet and talk to the artists in a way that, wasn't just hurry up and get something, it was really pretty special.
And
But
they had time to chat and maybe ask you a question and a follow up, and where you didn't have a line of people, like a cattle call, just kind of
yeah,
coming through. That's it's really the reason I absolutely loved the show. It sounds really weird to call 400 attendees and like what, roughly 60 artists, 60 plus
right.
artists, like an intimate affair, but it really was. Like if anyone who's used to going to a convention, to have that kind of access and that kind of ratio is terrific.
And I don't want to be so naive, and I, Bill will do a great job, and him and the team want to make it better. I get that. It's gonna be tough because how do you invite less people?
Right,
you know, uh,
right.
because then it turns into a whole nother thing, right?
So I think the good news is I think both Bill and Kasra understand what made this special.
Mhm.
And if they do expand, which I hear they will,
Yeah,
they're going to
I'm
include
speaking on behalf
more square
of the
footage along with more attendees, just
so
so
so if you
you
go
know.
from 60 to 120 artists, double the size of the space, you can go to 800. attendees.
Sure.
That's kind of what you're thinking?
I don't know if 800. I don't know if they're looking to double the number of attendees, but maybe go from like 400 to 600.
Mhm.
Something like that, something along those lines. It's a challenge, man. It's a fine balancing act,
Yeah,
right? Like, how do you keep the essence of what people loved about this show in its first year and kind of
but
keep it
but it
going as you go?
in my brain, as I see your piece, that I mean, what I'm thinking is like, I've already had a special day here. By the time we got to the end of Saturday, I'd already yeah, and this is in the Marvel card world, so a lot of my viewers will understand what I'm saying. I got to interview both Simone Bianchi and Dan DeSantos live together in person with their art around them. Then I got to interview the four 1995 Marvel Masterpieces artists from the 1995 set, and I interviewed them only to discover they had not done that since the mid 90s. So
Hmm.
nearly 30 years, they had not come back together again, all four of them together. So I got to do that interview. And so just those two things alone that day, Saturday, it's already a highlight, of my collecting, and involvement in the hobby. So had a ton of other fun, had some really cool memories. I got to hang out Friday night with David Finch and Eric Grove and Miles Wool. But, and I'd already kind of known Miles and knew Eric Grove, but to get to meet David Finch, just an incredible dude, obviously an incredible artist, and have dinner with him. So by the time I got to Saturday night, it was already a special event for me. Sunday hadn't even happened yet. Well, actually, I should say Saturday night. Saturday night was crazy for the Marvel card community. There's live videos. You can go watch them on the Spidey Hits channel. But we opened up Marvel card boxes and had a great time all night. Only got a few hours sleep. Look at that, Eric. He said, "I heard my name. What did I do this time?" Oh, you're just awesome. And so when I saw this piece, I was like, "Yes, like this is the thing that I'm gonna that I'm gonna attach these memories to." And I knew it was. I just had a sense it was special, and then I also had a sense I was like this. There's no reason this shouldn't be used for OAX in the future, like as an image. And that's for Bill and them to decide,
Sure.
whatever. But I just think it's too perfect. I don't know how they're going to come up with something better.
Thanks, man. Like, maybe a special edition print or something along those lines.
I just want a
Because
T-shirt.
I don't see myself. I don't see myself like if I turn in something for the auction for the second edition, I don't see myself going this route again, like with an OAX. It would make it
You can
would
do the
make
other half
this
of the
piece.
team, huh? You have Beast
So
and
so
Corey,
someone did ask me
Art
like if
Angel.
I'd be willing to do, and I think it's the person who ended up being the underbidder,
Yeah.
or one of them. If I would do the gold team,
Yeah.
because it's the blue team right here. So
Well,
I'm I'm
if you
I'm
did
wrestling
20,
with it.
if you did 2025 as the next part, then you could put them together. OAX 2025.
Oh, you mean for next year's auction?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not my piece, but I'm just saying for the image combined could say OAX 2025.
Right, right. Where your piece would represent the 2024 iteration
Yeah.
and the 2025. Yeah,
Yep.
that's not a bad idea. Yeah, look at
But
that. Something to think about.
it would certainly be cool. Yeah, let's zoom in.
I think someone had asked if I would zoom in to it.
Who is
So
your favorite of these to draw? Not maybe just in this piece, but in general.
in general, God, it's got to be Psylocke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
I kind of like really dig drawing Psylocke. But kind of going back to it, and I said it when I did the piece too, and I shared it online. I definitely wanted to lean into the Jim Lee-ness of it
mhm,
all, because it's for people like of my age, like
mhm.
this is it. Like it's fairly close to the cartoon lineup. Personally, like here's the thing. I was a bigger fan of the gold team.
Yeah.
Boo hiss. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was. I just loved the gold team, man. I loved Storm.
Jean Grey.
Huge,
So you got
huge fan of
Storm, Beast,
Archangel.
Jean Grey, yeah, Archangel,
Yeah.
Beast,
No,
and
Beast was so
Beast.
yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but like Beast is supposed to be on this team, but it
Beast.
unbalanced the image. So
Oh yeah, because
it's one of the
if you do them
reasons
correct,
he's not on here. So you
he
got
would just
Gambit
be the
there.
X.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll cover up a lot of the letters. And I'm also not a huge fan of the Beast, so I was like, yeah, you know
Like
what?
drawing him or as a character.
Kind of both, man. I mean, drawing him is fun. Like, yeah, you're rendering a lot of fur and stuff like that. But I'm not a huge fan of drawing him as a character. Plus, it really unbalanced the image because I paired up, everyone here. So
Uh-huh.
Beast would just be kind of the seventh wheel or whatever you would call it.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, he'd just be a solo character, just kind of hanging around here, blocking out most of the, the letters. If I would have had him here, I didn't want to add him in between this. It just unbalanced the image, and I'm glad you haven't noticed it till now. So
I haven't noticed it, and now I feel like I'm confused on the gold team.
the gold team was Storm, Jean Grey, Colossus, Archangel, Iceman, and eventually Bishop.
And eventually Bishop, yeah.
Yeah.
Bishop is I just think Bishop is an underrated character.
Yeah, Bishop is dope, man. I'm a big fan of Bishop.
Absolutely.
Love drawing him too.
He looks great. I mean, like there was actually an original art piece of Bishop that went off from original art from the Marvel cards in Heritage Auctions a few weeks ago. It was a great image.
Was that by I think I know the one you're talking about.
Bob Larkin.
Yes, the Bob Larkin one. Yep, that's right. So much fun just rendering that Jerry curl of his. It's it's crazy fun.
I had a friend that was bidding on that, so I couldn't bid on it.
So you guys, just let me ask you a question because I'm not familiar with the community, like with the overlap between the card collectors and, let's say, original art collectors. So when you guys are collecting card art, you're collecting the painted stuff.
Yeah, generally it's going to be your painted art, your illustrated art that was used for the card. And it's not always painted. In that same auction we just mentioned with Bishop, you had a John Romita Sr. Spider-Man from 1991 Marvel Universe Series 2. It's the famous Thwip card. If you've likely seen the image, even if you're not a Marvel cards. And but it was pen and ink, because Romita didn't color his own stuff, as far as I know. And so that was colored by I can see his name, Sam. Is it Sam? I can't remember his last name. Anyways, that sold for $13,000.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It's not very big either.
Yeah,
it's but so some of it's going to be pen and ink, but most of it's going to be painted.
Gotcha. And most of like the community you fostered, et cetera, you guys are hand in hand, both like art collectors as well as the card collectors, or is that a smaller?
Yeah, absolutely not. So I would tell you, I would not consider me. I think it'd be unfair to call me an art collector. I think it'd be much more, accurate to say that I'm a trading card fan of Marvel cards who has an appreciation for the art that creates it. And so, there's just, there's been some opportunity here for me to acquire a few pieces here and there, which I've, done, but I don't see myself as like a larger collector of original art. And I'm kind of nervous even dabbling in it. It's Marvel cards isn't cheap already. The original art is not cheap either.
Yeah.
But I own a couple of pieces, not a ton.
Gotcha. Hey, let me know when you want me to take this off screen so that we're not.
Look, so I want to ask you a couple more questions. So
yeah,
your favorite here to draw is Psylocke.
With Psylocke, just in general, it is. But I'll tell you, I really enjoyed drawing. I mean, I enjoy drawing all of them. There's a lot of like Cyclops haters out there. I personally love Psylocke. Cyclops.
We know how you feel about Psylocke.
I love Cyclops. I think he's a fun character. I mean, just not just in the in terms of drawing him, but I enjoy him as a character. And when he's written well, he's
I would.
he's
It's
kind of the
tough to
best stuff.
write. I think it's got to be tough to write true leadership because
Sure.
I think true leadership is it's difficult to understand anyways.
Right.
And so to just assume that you can just write, kind of this lead character, all the time, it's tough. Leadership is tough, and he's asked to lead, you know, in a fictionally, obviously, a diverse group of characters,
Right.
um, with seemingly a single mission in mind, but they don't always agree on how that should work out, and so it's tough. And he's like the bad guy in the good group, trying to keep everybody together.
Right. 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 But there's an insane amount of people like out there that like hate his guts,
I know.
and I take pride in like needling them. I
Yeah.
think I think I think Cyclops is dope. But in terms of this image, just in general, like I get really tired of drawing Wolverine because I get so many requests for that character.
Well, you
Uh,
do it so well. I mean, you got to
yeah.
start jacking it up a little bit because that is a great Wolverine. I'm like, I think I want him to draw Wolverine for me now.
Thanks, man. But like, and generally, like, if I drew, like, if you ask me, like,
Huh?
what my favorite iteration is to draw, it would be the John Byrne costume, the brown
Yeah.
and tan costume. I love that costume. And then with the hood with the hood down, I kind of like that too. Just rendering
You
the
like the
crazy
hair
hair.
just going.
Yeah, yeah. And but I really liked ultimately how Jubilee came out here too.
Mhm.
So
You got her
I would say,
personality really well there. Like,
yeah, just kind of
yeah,
sitting in the old, just
like, can we get
relax.
this photo over with now?
Yeah,
I
and that's the
definitely
other
love
thing. I
that.
didn't want to make it an action shot. I didn't want it to be, whatever. Just kind of relaxing, being badasses. I mean,
I
if
love
that's
it. Hey,
yeah.
I did have one person go, "Hey, shouldn't Wolverine have a cigar in his mouth and not a cigarette?"
Oh, yeah. This was pre Joe Quesada banning smoking Wolverine in the books.
I
Uh,
thought,
yeah, he'll occasionally smoke a cigarette. I mean, they've got to
uh-huh,
get back into training. Like if you have a cigar, you
uh-huh.
know, it's
He's got to
lit.
work his way
They're
back
in the
up.
danger room. Stuff's gonna happen. He can just stub out a cigarette. He's not gonna waste a good
That's just
Cuban.
what he happened to have in the suit,
There you go. There you
Kids
go.
don't smoke kids.
Yeah,
Um, thank you for sharing it. And
sure
like you
thing.
said, it's so big for people to it's candy cigarettes. That's for people to appreciate it. I think I wasn't gonna be able to pull it out, and I was afraid I would damage it pulling it out anyway. So
I know you were a little nervous, like handling it. I know. I get it, man. I get it. It's especially when you have them kind of folded like that, so it's a little bit thicker.
well,
Going into
like I
the.
said, I don't see myself as a just a collector of original art, so I haven't put a lot of stuff in the portfolio. In fact, I didn't have one when I got to OAX.
Oh
So
no. Okay.
I had to buy that one from Bill just to put your piece in it to take it home. I ended up grabbing a few more pieces to put in it too. I grabbed a couple of Bagley pieces, which I thought were great.
I feel
Uh,
like Bill should have given you a portfolio
no,
considering
no,
what you spent at the. I'm gonna call him out on it. Bill Cox, give this man a portfolio.
no, no, I don't. I appreciated him having one available for me to buy and
Yeah.
to put it in. Like I said, I wasn't planning on picking up anything like that, but it worked out.
Dude, it kind of reminds me of the first time. Like, I haven't been collecting art for a long time. It was like 2019 was the first time I bought a piece of art, like a commission that I bought. I commissioned Jay Lee for a piece at San Diego Comic Con, and I had no idea how to transport it, how to,
Mm, Jaylee.
whatever. So I didn't know what the heck a top loader was, and so I had a buddy with me. He was like, "Hey, just put it in a top loader." I was like, "What's that?" Then I had to go find a top loader. Blah 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 blah. But now my room is kind of overflowing with
Let,
portfolios.
let me show you what else I got in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and forgive me, viewers, if this doesn't show up well. I apologize. But the first piece is that is get my mic here. Joe Jesco.
Oh wow, you picked that up at OAX?
No. I had this one
Oh,
already.
oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Was
and
that
then
through was
the Kickstarter.
yeah, got it.
And Joe and them actually hosted the randomization of who got what on this channel for the Kickstarter.
Oh, no joke. I had no idea. Wow.
I did get this at OAX. This is from Ursherwood.
Oh yeah, Jeff.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Joff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I saw a Black Widow of his, and I was like, I bet he could do Spider-Gwen. Well,
So you commissioned him at the show specifically for that? Oh, nice.
Well, I did it pre-show.
Oh, got it.
I commissioned 2 pieces pre-show just to have something to pick up. Really, I wanted the art, but really for the content too, because I was going to record it up. And they were the only 2 people that actually really responded. Because I think people were busy.
Okay.
And then that's the Bagley.
You've got Magic in there. I forgot that Magic is another one of your characters, right?
Yeah, so that's Magic awesome. is kind of a newer character for me to collect. I can speak to that in a second. But I was really happy just to see that piece. And then I grabbed a second page as well. It's not from an important issue, but it's Bagley and it's Magic. So
it's Bagley and it prominently features Magic.
Yeah, and so thought they were good.
That's super cool.
Simone to sign my
the official OAX poster.
Yep, which I thought was cool. This is also original art for Rogue, but this is for the game Marvel Snap.
Oh, who's the artist?
John Boy.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's been on the channel. We've hung out.
That's rad, man. That's super cool.
Yeah. Have you played the Marvel Snap app?
I have not.
Well, the very first that Rogue is the one that they put out first. So it's like the first year.
Okay.
I put that in there just because I didn't have anywhere to put it. And then I picked up this from Ben Templesmith.
I saw that in person, I think, when you had it with you. I think that's so cool, man. Ben's such an interesting artist, dude. He does great work.
Yes. He's like, I want to get out of this horror mode. Like everybody thinks I'm doing horror. I'm drawing horror. That's from Eric Grove, my buddy.
Right on.
As a gift. And if I'm not supposed to tell people that, I'm sorry. Don't. This is actually pretty cool. This I had commissioned a while ago from Dan Lawless.
Yeah.
Marvel art in the 90s, and my favorite card as a kid was Wolverine versus Spider-Man. So he did me a Wolverine versus Spider-Man.
No way. Okay. I noticed you flipped through my buddy James's portfolio. He had the original pages from that book.
I almost cried. I'm serious. Like he went, wow, you're getting emotional. I was like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
This is really special.
That was cool to see.
Lawless, he also drew these. If you get something from him, he typically adds a little.
Oh, that's cool. Little thank you sketches.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is a character I created, and I had an artist draw. So one is the pen, and the other is the pencils. The ink.
What's the name of the character?
The character's name is here's sorry, it's falling apart. Verity Vale. Verity Vale is her name.
Okay.
And she's a villain, and it'd take me a while to kind of unpack it. It's probably pretty controversial, so I've chosen not to share it on the channel.
Got it.
so
I'll ask you offline. I'll ask you.
Yeah, you can ask me offline. I still don't feel I have a great community, but I still don't feel safe enough to share it on the internet.
Another Bianchi.
Yep. That is
nice.
Spider-Man piece he did for me.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
Was this a prior piece or was this
that was from New York Comic Con 2022.
Okay.
And that's it. I have some other original art pieces, like I say original art. I have some commission pieces, and then I have original art from Dan Dos Santos and Dave Palumbo.
Okay.
I have the Moon Knight from 2022 Marvel Masterpieces.
Man, I just saw that. You just got that recently, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. I did. I got that from the same Heritage auction
that
we were talking about earlier. And then
that's a great piece of art, man.
I think so.
Great piece of art.
I couldn't believe it was available.
Yeah, it's congratulations, man. That's I saw you share that, and I was envious because I saw it in the auction.
And that is Venom back there from EM Gis.
Oh, right on. You've got it. Is that on an easel? What do you
Yeah,
got?
it's just sitting back there. I'll grab it real quick.
Oh, yeah. That is cool. That is cool.
Yeah, and he doesn't do Venom a lot, so I was felt very privileged
Well,
to.
he smoked it.
Yeah, he did. And I guess technically, well, no, that's a recreation, so that's not original art, but that is a painting back there of Spider-Man. But so that's really all I have. All I have. I kind of view the higher end items in my collection. I kind of view them as having they come to me. I don't chase them. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it aligns and it works, it just works.
Right.
But I collect Marvel cards, and so yeah, I chase those pretty regularly. That's my, and I'm really curious, kind of your view of like this is a sketch card.
Man, that's a lot. That's a lot of detail to put in at that size,
Yeah,
color, and all of that stuff.
there we go.
Um,
And then
man, who's the artist?
Eric
Eric.
Lithoni. I don't know how to say it honestly. But I pulled that out of a box, and then like this is an older sketch card. This is Storm and Jim Lee version of Storm because Jim Lee did series 2.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a recreation of that card.
Mm-hmm. Come on now. No, the focus is not working.
There you go.
Yep. So that's cool. But sketch cards are a huge component of the Marvel card community and hobby.
Okay.
It's obviously not something that I think a lot of artists want to do to work at that scale. But if you've ever pulled a sketch card and it's been, it's your favorite character and the art's really good, like it's
Yeah.
a special hit, special pull.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I'll tell you what, man. It's for me is I I have worked on some sketch cards. So I have this baby that I put on like a big old nerd.
Oh man, look at that.
Yeah, so I'll put it on and just like go to town on it. And
Did
it's,
you get that while you were at Auburn University?
man, how did you do? I have like some Auburn stuff like hanging out here?
Hey, look. I knew when I met you, I was like, man, we both hate Bama.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, joke, dude. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it's a great time to be in the state right
Oh,
now. There are
super.
so many Bammer tears just flowing, like just rivers and rivers of it just kind of flowing, and
Let them flow, man. Let them flow.
it's great. My wife is unfortunately an Alabama fan, so it gets interesting. She's actually she's a better human being than I am. She roots for Auburn as long
Okay.
as it's not the Iron Bowl. But
We can
I
do that.
refuse. Like all I can do is like not outwardly express my disdain
I will
when
tell
she's
you,
watching. Yeah,
I have some dear friends who are what I would call true Alabama fans.
yeah.
It's the ones it's the ones that have no business being Alabama fans that I really struggle with.
The ones that are out there like poisoning trees, like them.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're not even from that state. You didn't go to college. Like, what are you doing?
I was here's a funny thing, man. We're getting a little bit off track. I'm sorry, but you brought it up. I'm gonna tell you.
I did.
I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas, and I was flying back on a Friday, and Saturday, Bama was playing LSU.
Yeah.
And the plane was chock full of Alabama fans. Like it felt like a bizarro like universe that I'd walked into. Like I'm in Vegas, and there's all these people flying to Birmingham. Birmingham's where I live, but like they're flying there to go to Tuscaloosa to watch the Bama. So I saw, and there were these Roll Tides rolling out, and like Roll Tide grates on my soul, man. Like there's no good way to say Roll Tide. But like there were all these people screaming Roll Tide. And so I started asking people, like, are you guys from Alabama? Did you go to Alabama and you moved to Vegas? And there's an entire contingent of you that took over this plane? No. They were like, I love college football. I had to pick a team. Alabama was winning, so Alabama became my team. I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
got it.
Yep. Totally
And
get
there's
it.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with picking a team from a college that you didn't go to or whatever. Absolutely nothing. I'll tell you
Cool.
what, being honest, I didn't go to Auburn. I went to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and I still
Okay.
hate Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you love Auburn though, right?
Yeah,
I
man.
think I picked up on that somewhere.
I started becoming an Auburn fan because I used to bartend in college,
Yeah.
and I used to put on Auburn gear to mess with Alabama fans, and ultimately it just
It led to the
became
fandom. Yeah.
yeah, it just became a thing, and now like I'm pretty huge into it. I'm stuck. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I wanted to ask you, like, did you, because I think you're maybe not as old as I am, but I'm 40, born in
Did you
83.
say I'm not as old as you are? Is that what
Mm,
you said? Oh,
yeah.
I'm old. I'm 45. I actually turn
Oh,
45 next month.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
early
Look at all
birthday.
this, man. Look
Hey, look, gray hair don't fool me. I know how young you are.
at.
Did you have an experience with Marvel cards as a kid growing up, or was that not a part of your childhood?
Um, it really wasn't a part of my childhood, but there's
Mm.
a specific reason for that. I didn't grow up in this country,
Okay.
right? So I was born in Sri Lanka, and when I was 5 years old, my family moved to Dubai, and from the time I was 5 till I was 18, I lived in Dubai, and I only moved to the U.S. to go to college, and then hung around like a barnacle. But comic books were a thing.
Okay.
And I was aware, absolutely aware of the cards because of the ads in the comic,
Yeah.
right? So like the really popular cards, like instantly, I know exactly what they are, and then the special series stuff that they would do and they would include in the comic
Mhm.
books, like when Executioner song was going on,
Yep.
they'd have the trading cards and stuff like that. So in that sense, yes, but we didn't have an outlet to purchase
Yeah.
those trading cards. Like comic books were there weren't specialty stores or anything like that to buy them. So no, I do believe like if they had been there, like that would have been something I gravitated to because we did collect other types of cards, like top trumps and that,
Sure.
that kind of stuff. So they're the the collecting aspect of stuff like that, and there were other various cards
So
sets that.
did you get to walk around and see the Marvel card archive, original art gallery that was set up? Did you
When
get
I
to
was
look at?
at OAX, yeah,
Mhm.
man, it's incredible, right? I mean, all three galleries that they had
Yeah.
set up there, it was like why are these things just kind of at a convention? Should they not be like in a
In the
museum?
museum, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was incredible to see those things up close and personal.
It's interesting because I'd actually seen, I've seen some Marvel card original art before, but a lot of those pieces I'd never seen in person. That was my first time. But the Metropolis collection that had, the Hildebrandt, Lord of the Rings, the McFarlane cover, like I had actually seen that because I'd been to Metropolis in New York.
Okay.
Um, but I have to tell you, outside of one or two pieces that are just in a class of their own, doesn't matter what, they're hanging next to, the Marvel card original art stood toe to toe.
Right.
It's just you get a glimpse of like, well, okay, well, these are, this is Hildebrandt Spider-Man. you know,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
same
Yeah. No,
Hildebrandt that's over there for Lord of the Rings. Like it's
I'll be
this.
honest with you. When I as from a guy that's not as intimately familiar with
Mm,
their connection to the card
yeah.
side of things, just walking through that gallery, like there was no division that I saw. Like, oh, this is card art, and this is you know Hildebrand's doing their thing, or whatever that may be. It was all just a stunning wall of art.
Yeah.
So for a casual observer like me, and someone that loves art, it
Mhm.
just they were all equally, I would say, incredible in person.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that was kind of my sentiment is like, wow, this stuff really goes toe to toe. Because it's a lot of times it's the same art, like the same artists that are creating in other areas. Like Simone's on a ton of covers in
Right.
comics.
Right.
and he has an entire set dedicated to him for his art, and then he's in other sets as well. So he's doing both, and I think there's a reason why he keeps painting for Marvel cards. It's a pretty special community to get
Yeah.
connected to.
Yeah.
We're really passionate, and I know we'll say we're not big spenders, like outspending somebody for that, but I mean we're passionate enough that we want to stay connected, and people will spend money, um, and I think that there's a good deal of love that comes from the Marvel card community to the artists, and I think they've really enjoyed it.
I think to me that's and I'm not just saying this, but there's an aspect to it where you can build a community that's positive,
Mhm.
that shows love, that it doesn't need to be a giant community of big spenders. Whether there are big spenders or not, that's beside the point.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be that if there's a positive fandom that we both know there are several fandoms that can kind of swing both ways.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Um, so so just
Yeah.
to have that kind of energy and like people that are like that, and I'll tell you if you're kind of a reflection of the card community, I mean, I would love to meet all you guys because
I I hope
it's
that I am. I hope that they're a reflection on me, like, in the way I exist in it is me, the impact that the car community has had on me as well. Um, here on the channel and in other places where I'll say, quote, the Spidey Hits community, I've really, from the very first video that I ever put out for YouTube, I said, hey, I'm Spidey and I hope you have a marvelous day. And, for me, that was born out of a desire to say, okay, if someone were to invite me into their life through this channel to watch it, to invade wherever they're at in time and space, whatever they're going through, if they were to engage in this content, that they might leave feeling a little more marvelous, whatever that means for them, where it doesn't feel like it took something from me, but it gave, whether that's just enjoyment, relaxing, hanging out, whether that, if there are times where the conversation can get kind of deep, kind of rich, that it is positive. And for that reason, I've guarded the channel in some ways to say, look, I want the kind of content that happens here to be something that if my daughters were to watch, I would not be embarrassed by it.
right.
My nephews who do watch it, who are 7 or 10, that my sister doesn't call me and go, hey, you know, I had to
What
turn it
was
off. I had to turn it off.
that?
Um,
Yeah.
so there's been an element of that, of keeping it that way, but it's really born out of the thought that, hey, I always talk about the cards because they're cardboard, right? And say, look, people are more important than cards. They're more valuable than cards. They're more
Right.
valuable than the collectible. Like, you are more valuable than the art that you created. And to keep that, to help keep things in perspective, I think is really important.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And yeah, honestly, this is I, I wasn't familiar uh either with you or like that there was this huge section. I'm here insulated in the
Uh-huh.
comic art world and all of that stuff. And it's not like I didn't know there were
Yeah.
card art collectors. I mean, that's of course I did, but I didn't know that you guys were as passionate to the degree. And I've kind of jumped in and like I've watched some of your videos over the
Yeah.
last like couple of weeks and whatnot. And it's really cool to see, man. And we'd like to think in the original art community we foster. They'll always be the exceptions, but for the most part, we'd like to think in the comic art community because you're talking about like a niche within a niche within a niche,
I
right?
know.
Like it's comics,
But
comic
man,
book. Yeah,
that's just, I think the world's there. Like, I'd like to say it's headed there, but I mean, because of our ability to connect quickly all around the world,
right,
the niche within the niche within the niche is actually where it's at now.
right,
I don't have to hope that I catch a phrase about a thing that I love on some show. Like, I can go straight to YouTube and find it, to some
right.
degree.
Right.
the niche within the niche. And so I think that it is important that if you have something that you love and it's not wicked, to do it with all your heart,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And there's likely a few others out there who want to do it with you.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Hey, I'm gonna flip the script on you just a little bit and
Yeah,
ask you a couple of questions. Okay.
go ahead. This is as much your show as it is mine tonight.
One, going to card art, like in your community, when you guys talk about
Mhm.
art and grails, right? Are
Mhm.
you pretty public in expressing that this card or the art to that card is represents a grail, like that's something that you guys are looking for, or are you more
So,
guarded about it?
really good question. Uh, I am public about it to the chagrin of many others. um,
Okay.
there's definitely been times when people are like, oh, please don't talk about that yet. I was like, I, I'm sorry. Like if it occurs to me to do so, like I'm going to do so.
Right.
But for me, I've been very public, and probably maybe in some ways too public. If anything, I want to have discretion. I think
Hmm.
that's a good word. But discretion can come off as hiding if you're not careful.
Sure.
But oversharing can come off as foolish and dangerous if you overshare in some ways. But for the most part, it's very public from the Spidey Hits channel standpoint. Um, but I do know that there's still some people that would rather kind of not talk about some things as much.
Is the thought process behind that like you don't want to make yourself a mock, or
I'm not sure
like
I
if
understand what that means.
basically what I'm saying is if it's a grail, if it's something you don't already own and you say, hey, this is something I'm super after, that
Yeah.
suddenly it invites people to put that
Overcharge.
much higher on you. Is
Yeah.
that one of the reasons?
It is a true reality that I am my own worst enemy as a collector. Um, it is.
Yeah.
The perception, like the channel can create the perception of, oh, he has nice stuff, so he can afford it.
Right.
So that can happen. And then the second is I'm very clear on what I love, which is Peter Parker Spider-Man is my number one. Now Spider-Man's already expensive, okay?
Right.
But when someone wants to sell Spider-Man to me, it's generally at a really good premium, like high price. It's like, hey Justin, we know you love Spider-Man. Here. Um, and the one of the reasons I shifted to collecting magic as well recently is because I was working on a Dark Phoenix collection. Okay.
Hmm.
Everyone knows and loves Dark Phoenix. In 2021, Dark Phoenix was, you know, pretty she was featured highly in a set called X-Men Metal. X-Men Metal is a set that pays homage to 1995 metal. But in that trading card set, she had cards that were, numbered to 100 to 75 to 10 and number one of one. And it had
Hmm.
other low numbered short printed cards. Long story short, I collected the full rainbow. So I have the printing plates that were used to print the card. I have the one of one, the out of 10 highest grade, and a PSA 9. The red PMGs, if you know where PMGs are, all the number cards, all the special inserts, everything. And I finally got what I considered the last missing piece of that rainbow, is what we like to call it, which was a comic cut from issue 135, because they actually take the comic books and cut them up and put them in a trading card. You ever
Oh,
seen that?
okay. No, I haven't. I haven't.
I'll um I'll show you here in a second. So when I completed that, I was done with my secondary kind of chase that I had outside
Mhm.
of Peter Parker Spider-Man. And if I don't have something that I'm doing secondarily, Spider-Man's too expensive. It's just
Right.
really painful.
Right.
Um, to put it in perspective, I picked up a PSA 10 graded card from 1995 today for Spider-Man, and I have patiently waited for this card, and the price finally dropped to $500, and that was cheap
For a single card.
for a single card for Spider-Man. He's just tough to collect.
Yeah.
And
Is that
so,
representative? Is that representative of just in general, like Spider-Man? Like, are you talking about in the 3 to 500 range,
um,
lower,
so
higher?
yeah, so I'm going to start saying some prices, and if you're new to Marvel cards, please know that there's a lot of education that goes around this, and don't use it as like I'm now well informed. I'm going to go make purchasing decisions.
Hey, if you don't want to, like, I don't want to. I don't want to
No,
hijack
no,
it. I can ask
I'm-
you these questions
I,
offline.
I think they're great and they serve the community. So I'm glad you did. It's
Okay,
just that if I make a casual statement, I don't want somebody to use it as an educated response
got it.
and to go make purchasing decisions. So, um, you know, just in the last 6 months, I sold one card for 30,000. Um, I have been part of a individual Spider-Man card sale that sold in the six figures. I brokered what is the highest public individual Spider-Man trading card sale that sold for 255,000
Yeah.
for one card.
So this is, and you're talking about the card, not the original art that goes with the card.
Correct.
Man, I had no idea. I
Yeah.
mean, for someone on the outside, I mean, I guess now I kind of feel what my wife feels when I tell her what I spent on like original art. Like
Yeah, it was cheap. It was 1,300, baby. I got a great deal.
these guys are spending $250,000 on a trading card. But
Well,
no, I get it, man. I mean, it's tied into rarity, scarcity, and all of that stuff too,
and
right?
there's just a much larger community in trading cards, period,
Sure.
where you have, say, sports or Star Wars or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, where there's, those kind of numbers happen with a lot more regularity.
Yeah.
So a few of those people felt like they could dip into Marvel cards and they're like, wow, I can pick up the best thing ever. And it's a quarter of what the best thing ever for this over here sells for. You see how that happens really quickly?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
whether good or bad, it happened and has happened. And then there are some stuff that people are like, hey, yeah, like I actually think that's really special. And I've already got the special thing here, here, and here. I want this to go with it. Right. So,
That's
but,
interesting, man.
but let me
Well,
show you
thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to show you, this is the comic cut. So you might recognize this panel from issue
Yes,
135.
that's John Byrne, right?
John Byrne. So Dark Phoenix makes her first like comic appearance in issue 134 and a splash page on the last page. And then she's, featured all throughout issue 135. She's full Dark Phoenix, right? But they cut up the interior panels, and then this is the actual trading card here. So I can flip it around and see it's numbered 30 out of 45. So there are 45 of these that are from issue 135. So this has actually been sent off to get graded. And that was the last piece I needed for my Dark Phoenix
Got it.
X-Men Metal Rainbow. So, and to complete that collection.
The rainbow.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Now,
And
man, I'm going to ask one more stupid question in
oh,
relation to
please.
that comic cut thing.
Yeah.
Your regulars are probably like, where did you find this dummy? But
No, they're not at all. I promise.
this, so that's the that image was actually cut out of a comic book and
Correct.
then mounted onto a card.
It's so they actually there's actually a video on YouTube where Upper Deck does this, and when they cut it out, it's actually being placed into, it's a clipping at that point, almost like you might would clip out a coupon out of a magazine, right? You clip it out, and then
Sure.
it sits in between the cardboard like this with the window open showing the panel, right?
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Whew. I had no idea, man. I mean, it's just an entire
So
universe of stuff I didn't know. I mean,
think
and we're
of it,
just scratching the surface.
the I think about I think this happened in the 1980s where a company, I think it was Leaf, took a Babe Ruth baseball bat and chopped it into pieces. And it's like, why would you ever do that? Right. Well, then they took the individual pieces and put it into trading cards and put it in packs, and people got to pull a piece of Babe Ruth's bat. And I think that the to the purist is like, no, go to hell. Don't ever do that again. Right. And Yeah, I mean that for effect. No, don't really do that. But
Yeah.
but to the person who will never ever have a chance to ever own anything, that's Babe Ruth. To pull it was a
A fraction of it. Yeah, for
was a
sure.
special moment for them, right? And so it's like, who's right? Well, you know, um, I'll go ahead and break your heart because this guy, this guy's putting it up here. Um, they also took an Amazing Fantasy 15 and cut it up and put it into trading cards as comic cuts. And so,
And so that's like various panels from that book, right? So
correct.
it's not like they had to like were there, did they take like three books to the point where like there were three cards that had the same panels, that kind of thing?
No,
Or
the AF-15 is in its own little conversation because of what it is as a book.
Mhm.
Number one, they got it pre-COVID. Prices were much different. Number one. Number two, they got a copy, as I understand it, that as a whole wasn't a great copy, maybe not complete, but the
Okay,
cover was would have been like a 7.0 if the whole thing had been complete.
got it.
So a great clean cover. And they actually took the cover and cut it up and made it a what they call an achievement, where 16 different individual cards that made up the cover panel. So it's a comic cover achievement. And then the interior panels they made into 15 trading cards that we know of right now. There's some new sets that are coming out there have them in there as well, but I don't know how many of it was in that.
Man, that's kind of a genius idea. Like it's the same concept, I guess. Like you were talking about with Babe Ruth, there's someone out there that can't, and I say that not knowing what the price of these cards are, but someone that can't
Oh,
necessarily
well,
afford. Or
the card that sold for 30,000 was the AF-15 comic cut.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, got it.
right. Which, by the way, paid for my original art that I got.
Oh,
Yeah, and so I didn't want to sell it, but I also had to pay for this original art. I was like,
one feeds the other, right? Like
it's
I feel that pain sometimes.
well, I mean, I couldn't afford to keep it and have the other. It wasn't so much like one beats the other, but I have the privilege of like I've owned it. Like I've already had that moment with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And there's I feel like I have a strong memory. Like I kind of still own it. Like it still already has been a part of my collection. And its history, its lineage. Well, you can't tell its story without telling my story with it. And so it moved on, and I was able to get the original art, and I have it, and um, that story is still unfolding, and that's for another show for another day. But
that's pretty cool, and it's a good way to look at it, man. I feel like there's similar stuff that happens, especially with original comic art. You're talking about a one of one.
mm,
Um, you know, you're pretty much hoarding something. There may be hundreds of thousands of people that love that book,
yep,
and you're the only one that has that page from that book. So there is an aspect of how long is enough for you to have had it and to pass it on to the next caretaker. you know
yeah. I
um
don't know that I have the perfect answer for that, but I do have kind of an internal personal philosophy, which is I view myself. Let me say it better. I want to be more of a river than a pond.
I
You
like that.
a pond is useful, right?
Mhm.
Ponds, I'll get kind of rural on you for a second, but ponds are useful because you can create a water source for wildlife, even in areas that don't have a lot of water.
Sure.
You can pond it. But the problem is, if water doesn't flow well through it, it can become stagnant and not so useful, and wildlife doesn't get the real benefit. But a river, man, water moves, life happens like in incredible ways. And so my thought process as a collector, I want to be more like a river. And whether it's information and or pieces, things move through you and they go to others, and you can be a blessing to them, but it still like more stuff comes, like more happens for me when that happens. But if I try to like keep it to myself, I become this like stagnant, collector. And I don't want to be that.
That's poetry, man. I love it. And I think there's um I need to be a little bit more of that, because there's stuff like from my childhood, like once I finally got it,
Yeah.
I'll verbally like tell people this will only leave my cold dead hands. Like
And I have a lot of respect for that. I do. I really do.
yeah,
I don't know that it's I don't know that that's actually healthy for me because I think I would become a hoarder faster
yeah,
if I didn't have that mentality.
yeah, yeah. There's probably a cutoff. Like, you know, once I start getting up there in years, some would argue I'm there already. But once I start getting up there in years, you know, hey, I've had Beer
Yeah.
River. There you go, man. I didn't know Justin was a poet, but that was sheer poetry.
Well, dude,
So
just like for me, I just think about like how many pieces can I touch in my collection have been a part of the story of that thing rather than, only having a few things that I can touch because my ability to get more collectibles has a lot to do with being able to sell a few of them.
sure,
It just does.
yeah,
It's hard for me not to see life as always an exchange, right?
right,
Like I exchanged $2,500 for your art, and now more's happening.
right,
The river's
yeah.
happening.
There you go, man.
You
I
know,
love it. I love it. My second question for you, and
yeah.
maybe this is short. How did you find out, hear about, actually end up attending OAX?
Yeah. So it's a buddy of mine, Jose Caballero and Stephen Wallabrew, who own most of that original art of Marvel cards.
Okay.
Um, when they when whenever their conversation with however it happened with Bill Cox, and he said, "Yeah, we really feel like Marvel cards has a place here at OAX." Um, I'll backtrack a little bit here. Uh, in January of 2022, me and a buddy of mine, Fausto Badio Nuevo, sat down. We call him Sketch Card Hive. Norn Rad is his superhero names. We sat down and we actually took a big whiteboard and wrote down kind of a vision and future for the hobby. And one of those things was that we would build community through conventions,
Mm,
and that Marvel cards I used the terminology, and maybe I'm not correct, but it's just how I've experienced it. It lay dormant. Um, it had this incredible rise in the 90s where it was just overprinted and you could go to Walmart and get it, much like Pokemon eventually became. Like it was everywhere. And then in 1996, Marvel crashed and burned in a lot of ways, and the mom and pop shops crashed and burned through through that whole crash that happened then. And then Marvel cards kind of went away. And in your comic book shops, at least in my experience and what I've heard, like the comic book owners, like people would just walk in with a shoebox of comic cards and be like, "Hey, do you want these? Can you buy these?" And they're like, "No, it's junk." Right.
mm,
And if they had it, they couldn't move it. They couldn't sell it either. And so it's kind of just viewed as this like novelty, worthless. It was fun, maybe, but not a thing. And I think, when you couple that with the fact that I think the comic book industry struggled in the 2000s anyways,
right.
and then of course, then the movies start happening, things start building back up. And then you get all the way to COVID. When COVID happens and people start trying to buy their childhood again, Marvel cards kind of makes a resurgence. But little did we know there was this little community. And I say little, we're talking, who knows the real number, but it probably wasn't more than 2,000. Okay.
Mm,
Like, active buying, selling, trading community of Marvel cards that appears, from what I can tell, primarily exist in one Facebook group and some blowout forums online. But there were cards that were being made, and the dates you can kind of say different dates, but just say 2011 to 2020. Okay. Um, and then so by the time we get to 2020, 2021, this community, like, it's just exists online in a few places, but it's not out in the public and in places where people can see and get to know and meet each other. So it felt like that Comic Cons was going to be one of the places that we would be able to start to foster that community.
mm,
So our first big con was New York Comic Con 2022.
okay.
CGC got on board. CGC started grading Marvel cards, which was a big deal. created some visibility. Um, uh, Not long after that, Todd McFarlane agreed to do a signing, which he also signed Marvel cards at that, which was also a big deal. But that kind of started the trading card meeting at conventions. But when we would go to these things, and I'm getting long-winded to answer your question, when we would go to these things, it still felt like we didn't have a place. We were just kind of over there. It was just our little group of 15, 20 people, whatever it was, but
Right.
it wasn't actually a part of the event.
Right.
You know? So when Bill said, "Hey, like you'll actually be a part of the event," that felt really special.
Right.
And kudos to Jose and Steven. And there are other people, and I won't be able to name everybody. You always leave somebody out. I mean, they put in a lot of work. Somebody had to get all those paintings there, set them up, put the nameplates on them, or what they call the tombstones on them with the information.
Yeah.
That was a lot of work. And they asked me to come moderate the interviews, just because I'm used to doing this, which I was happy to do. And so that's what got me there.
Oh, that's cool. So it was a little bit of both. There was there was an appetite for a forum where you guys could grow and like have your own spot, and it seemed like Bill and Castro were open to. Well, was that something they'd already been thinking about?
I don't know. I think that Bill and Castro have probably understood that there's a buying community for original art for Marvel cards, and I think they understood that we needed a place where we could kind of show what we really are.
Yeah.
And again, I'm speaking from my experience. I'm not speaking on behalf of Bill or for Jose or anybody else, but from my experience, for Bill to make available, the gallery and to feature the sketch cards and for those to be used during the free sketch hour. I thought that was really special.
Yeah.
Sunday, the show, basically ended with artists just doing sketches for free.
Right. It was like 90 minutes of free sketches, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of have this thought that it'll never happen again. I hope it does. But what I mean let me explain what I mean. Like I'm in Adam Hughes's line, right? And I wait 10 minutes to get a free sketch. What does he charge for a commission? I think it's public.
Yeah, it is. So like a full blown commission. I think he took like 5 on this go around. And let me tell you, it's not normal. There was some eyebrows raised, but they sold out instantly. 10K.
10K. And I got a free sketch. I waited 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can get like, I don't know, for like $250, like a side profile, which is what he does in the sketch card. But I mean, you're talking about if you're at another con, man, that line you're in that line for like hours, right?
I can't do that.
Yeah, no, me neither.
My brain won't let me sit there while there's all kinds of other stuff for me to go.
Other stuff going on. It's like that FOMO thing. Like, what else is going on while I'm standing here for 2 hours? I can't do the line thing either, man. It's just not in my DNA. Never has been. I'm pretty hyper just to begin with, and then
that makes so much sense because we actually had trouble finding each other for a little bit. Like I think we were both like, "Hey, where are you at?"
Yeah, it was. I mean, I can stay at a table. So when I'm actually at a convention as an artist, I got no choice. I've got to be there, right? But it's also neat because there is a variation. There's people stopping by, they're talking. They want to get stuff signed. They want commissions, this that. So there's a variety there. Where usually when I'm at a convention, sometimes I don't even get up for lunch. I've just like kind of have lunch right there, and then there'll be a 30-minute period that I walk around. That I can live with, but I didn't have any of those responsibilities here, so I was just kind of standing there.
The best of both worlds because you were like there as an artist, but also as an attendee
and a collector, right? So there was I'm meeting people that I've only chatted with online, and there's a group similar to what you described. There's a since COVID, that group has gotten larger to where we've started meeting each other at cons. And Heroes prior to OAX was like informally, it's much more comic focused convention in North Carolina, in Charlotte. I don't know if you've been to Heroes
So
before.
Heroes actually plays a big role in our Marvel card story.
Okay.
So the in 2022, make sure I got my time frame right. Yeah, 2022. We go to Heroes Con. There's actually a video. I took my daughter. It's on
Okay.
the channel. We had a really good time. That's actually the very first time we set up a Marvel card booth at a comic convention. We had
Got
set
it.
some up at like sports card conventions or trading card conventions. Totally different experience. But that was the first time we did it at a comic convention. And that's actually where Dan Dos Santos introduced himself to the Marvel card community for the first time, but did not announce that he was actually the Masterpieces artist.
Mm.
So we're just chatting it up with the guy. We have no idea. He's finishing 136 original paintings for Marvel cards, and he's the one person we all want to know who's doing the next set, and it's him.
Yeah.
And but that meeting led to Fausto, who I mentioned earlier, who lives in North Carolina, a few streets down the road from Dan. They met there.
Got it.
And create a relationship that eventually allowed us, to get to know him more. But that was at Heroes Con.
Oh, okay. It's Heroes is one of my favorite cons, man. I mean, just because, I love the pomp and circumstance of SDCC and NYCC, but
Yeah.
they're not comic conventions anymore, man.
Nope.
It's something else. And Heroes, it became kind of post pandemic for a lot of us original art collectors. Like, hey, we're all gonna go to Heroes. We're gonna have a kickoff party on Thursday. Bill would organize it. So, there's a bar, there's like live music, all these art collectors together. And then, I'd be there as a collector. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'd be tabling as an artist. So Heroes holds a special place as well.
So were you there in 2022?
I was. Yeah.
Man, I got to go back and watch my video and see if I can see you.
Yeah. I was with 4C. I was at the 4C booth. I'm trying to remember who I was with. Bill Morrison for sure.
Yeah.
I think Ron Wilson was there. Maybe Larry Stroman. Because those are all the guys under the umbrella of 4C. Maybe Jim Shooter. So I was in that group. I'm like the dude riding the coattails of these guys into.
Well, look, as you were going around the expo at OAX, like I could tell, just people love you, whatever that is. Right? They just do.
No, it's neat, man. It's a great. There's like I said. I mean, you've seen it in your community. Mm-hmm. I see it in the comic art collecting community. There's a real camaraderie, and and there's different eras of collectors too, right? I mean, we really are kind of, I wouldn't say we're aging out, but there is that's gonna happen at some point. There's people collectors that are in the 60s now, moving on into the 70s and 80s, or whatever that may be. One thing that I've always looked at is, where's the new blood coming in, because you want to leave this hobby, it's a cliche to say better than you found it, but you at least want it to have a healthy presence, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, whatever it is. And it's not going to come from other 45-year-olds kind of coming in, to buy it. And there's a barrier to entry. The price is a barrier to entry. I mean, we get it, but there's also like really cool stuff that you can still buy for $100, $150. It's up and coming artists, et cetera, et cetera. So like a lot of our conversations in the circles that I run in, it's related. And I know Bill and CAF and OAX, that's one of their top priorities as well, is how do we replenish this pool and like get younger collectors in. And because we became comic art collectors, and I'm sure you became comic art collectors because you love the comics. At some point you love the characters, you love the comics. Comic readership is down. So where does that come from? Does it come from MCU audiences? We've seen in the past, like, we have enough data now to tell you that no matter how successful the MCU is, it doesn't move the needle for comic book sales. So we've seen that. So where does
stop people from trying to make it a thing?
What's that?
It doesn't stop people from trying to make that a thing.
Right, right. We have 10 years of data now. We
It's
have 10
interesting
years of data.
because what appears to be undefeated though is if you have a unique and special nostalgic connection in your childhood,
Hmm.
you're gonna move back to it in some manner in your
Right,
adulthood, either when you feel like you need it from a coping standpoint or when you think you can afford it from a hobby
right.
standpoint. Like either way,
Yeah,
I'll use my lovely father as an example. He his collectible, his hobby was cars. There were cars. Cars were a big thing. They were when he was a kid. Muscle cars were becoming a thing, right?
yeah,
And so that's his still this day his passion that he loves. But that's where his nostalgic memories as a kid are tied
right.
to.
Yeah.
Um, and I think if you just think that just because it's something put out there into the universe, right? Like it's going to do it. But if you don't create that nostalgic connection to a kid, it's probably not going to happen
Hmm.
down the road. Unfortunately, unless you tie it to gambling or investing.
And that's an aspect. I mean, of why we're seeing the price of art, at least on our side, going up to where it is we're talking about stupid money now,
Mhm,
where it's irresponsible to just be calling it a hobby
mhm.
once you're at a certain end of the pool. It's laughable to call it a hobby at that point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that investment aspect, and then there was a flood of money that came in post pandemic.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna, sit here and speculate on
Mhm. That's
on
not what
where that money
not what
came
the
from.
is, yeah.
Yeah, but it did kind of elevate pricing to. I mean, comic
Well,
art has always been appreciating, but
when
that
when
graph just went like that.
yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in art, don't pretend to be, but I do live in the world of finance, and when you have the ability to buy something that you can buy with cash, that you can then turn around and sell, um, there's certainly there's an element of the world that would like to have access to that. and
Say no more.
and what I don't know that people really understand, and I've said this on the channel, and hopefully I won't get shot one day. Um, what you see as a loss is not a loss.
Right.
If somebody pays 50 grand for something and then it sells for 20, well, they have 20 in legitimate funds.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yep.
it's not the same.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so, and the bigger the number of the gifts, the more attraction you get to people wanting to do that. And that's why there's so much regulation and safeguards and say like housing, you know,
Right.
to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. And so, I don't want that to be the thing that drives our hobbies.
No. No. Absolutely not. It's not great for the long term health
Mhm.
of the hobby for it to be that way.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah.
creates a perception of a sale and the value that's not legitimate
Right.
because it's not the same motivation. There's
Yep.
a in the elements of value, one of the elements is anticipation. If you're going to buy a car, you're like, man, it won't need to be fixed for 5 years. Like it's going to run great. Like you buy a new
Yeah.
car, like it's going to get me to where I go and I'm going to feel good when I do it. The seats are going to be heated and people are going to smile and say, what a great, successful guy. Like whatever your anticipations are, they're there. It's an element of market value. And so if a sale happens out there that wasn't something that was motivated by the love of the thing, whatever that is, then it was this other hidden anticipation. Then it misconstrues the marketplace, and so you got to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely seen several large scale examples of it
Mhm.
on our side of the hobby for sure, and I'm sure you have on your side as well.
Oh, no
Um,
one was safe when people were making money out of thin air. No one was safe. It literally became a job for people to figure out where to put the money.
Right. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? I'm like waking up every day trying to figure out how to make it. And there's somebody out there right now going, I'm just trying to figure out where to put it.
Yeah, I've got like these 8 duffel bags
Yeah.
running out of room. Like,
Uh-huh.
where does this go? Hey, this comic art thing seems to
Yeah,
be
it's
doing.
comic art.
Hey, this memorabilia, like comic book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing new. I mean, and again, I own a couple of paints. I'm nobody in the art world. Please hear that. But like, this has been going on for 1,000 years in art.
Yeah.
It's like nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like they just found like our particular niche. Like they were like, hey,
Uh-huh.
these guys, they're like here, they're still dealing in like cash.
Somebody was telling me art is still like the one thing you can like bring overseas and it's like not taxed.
I was looking at that, right? Like so it works this way. So if
Uh-huh.
you import it
Yeah.
to the US, we don't get taxed.
Think about
Um, if we send it to like Canada, Europe, wherever, like whenever we ship art
that.
and you
Uh-huh.
declare the value of it, they pay taxes on it.
No,
So,
you're 100% correct.
yeah,
That's nuts.
yeah, yeah. So it's almost easier for like some people, like I know, like to just have it shipped to the US and they'll fly to the US and just take it back with them. You
Yeah.
know, this is it's just a weird thing. Like there's a lot of
Hey, I
that happening.
can't send this money to you from overseas, but let me buy this piece of art real quick and I'll send it to you tax
Go.
free.
There you go, man. I mean, there's definitely when you see the weird examples
Uh-huh.
that suddenly hit the news.
Yeah.
There's genuinely people. Let me not make it sound like that's all it is. There's
Yeah.
genuinely people that love the hobby that have the liquidity, that can afford to do that because they started collecting a long time ago. So this page that they bought for $120 is
It's when you don't
now
know the
a
buyer.
quarter of a million
You don't know
dollars.
who the buyer is. It's like, what collection is that going into? That doesn't make,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. The black holes are the ones that are like you're just like as soon as it shows up on CAF, we're like, all right, legitimate. Like we,
You know.
yeah. There's of course some people that don't want to advertise. Um, that they
Yeah.
had a quarter of a million lying around to buy it and it's genuinely in a collection of someone who appreciates it. I can understand that as well, not wanting to
Yeah.
advertise it. Me personally, I can't collect in a vacuum. I need to be able to share that with somebody and be
Uh-huh.
like, not
Oh,
just
no.
for ego but just like to
It's just
share
not
in the
how we
joy.
operate. Yeah.
Yeah,
If there's some moments I can have by myself with it, but it's not the whole
right.
by any stretch.
Right. And then when you have a community or like a group of friends that genuinely do like give a crap about you,
Yeah.
they know when you got something that means a ton to you and like you share, it may not mean anything to them, but like
Yeah.
that ability to be like, man, I'm so happy for you, that you got
Mhm.
it. Those are the things that kind of make you keep chasing the dragon. It's like the personal high of getting something, but also the sharing it with your friends.
When we're not live, I'm going to show you something that I've gotten recently that I will
Oh,
share with the channel. So don't think you're going to be left out. It's just about, timing and presentation is a part of it. Um, that I am over the moon that I have. For a couple of reasons. Number one, for me to get it now, when like financially for me to get it now is a lot more difficult than it's been in 4 years. Right.
mm,
I work in mortgage. Everyone knows it's down 40, 60% period. I
right.
mean, it's just true. Right. And so for me to get this particular item now and the way that I got it makes it even more special to me. And I'm very happy and very excited about it.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see it. Especially, the guys on the channel. Just, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be the first guy to see it.
Yeah, yeah, I'll show it to him, and I'll show it to them too. I'm working on when to post the video, and how
Yeah.
to do it. I want to do it in a way that
Oh, that's
anyone
right. I
can
can't.
do.
I can't wait to see it. Hey, look. What? Just real quick. One thing is, kick me off whenever you have to,
Oh, I
because
will. I
okay,
promise.
like I don't know when to stop.
It
So
goes fast, man. We're already been an hour and 34 minutes,
I know it doesn't feel like it.
and I do know this. I know that we're gonna have to have on again. Have you on again? Do you like get anxiety when you draw in front of people?
Um, I'm a lot better at it now.
Uh-huh.
After having done like cons, it here's where the anxiety part comes in, is being constantly interrupted when I'm drawing.
Mhm.
I use the word interrupted. That's not what it is. People want to
Oh, we know
talk.
we're bothering you. Come on, you don't have to play the nice guy.
And like when I'm looking down, right? There's two things. Like when you're drawing flat on a table,
Yeah.
there's a parallax aspect of it where you're looking at it at this angle. Like I draw on my drawing table like this. It's like a
Right.
45-degree angle, if not higher. And then when you're drawing on a flat table, and you're looking across it at a weird angle, like proportions can get kind of jacked up. And then you're like super
Oh, yeah.
self-conscious about it. You got to erase it, da 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 da. And then when you're like halfway through, when you've kind of problem solved how you want a figure to be, and you
Yeah.
start drawing it out, and someone asks a question, so you hit a stop. I'm not the kind of person that likes to talk to people while I'm looking, especially if they're here trying to have a conversation. I think it's just like incredibly disrespectful to not like look up and
Mhm.
talk to somebody. So as soon as I do that, and then we get into a conversation, whether it's like a 5 second, like, hey, good to see you. My name is blah, 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 and whatever. And then I go back to it. I have to really like find myself again. And there are times I've done work that I'm not proud of when I've drawn
Mm.
live because of that.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Look at this. Here he is.
oh, Castro, what's up, man?
Dude, where are you at? You need to be here on the channel. Hey, he was really kind to me at OAX. I had my binder of Marvel cards. When I say binder of Marvel cards, it was like every special insert from the recent 2022 Marvel Masterpieces. Those boxes are $800 a box, roughly. Okay. They come with
Okay.
36 cards in them.
Okay.
And these were all my top inserts from those boxes. And I thought I lost it. Well, actually, I did lose it. I didn't know where it was, so it
Yeah.
was lost. Um, and it was when I had bought your art, and I kind of got caught up in that moment, and I was like, "Did I set it down? Did I do this?" Well, when I say it was then, that's as far as my brain could go. When did I have it last? And it turns out
Mm.
I left it in the what do you call it?
The gallery room.
Gallery room.
Yeah.
And so it was as safe as it was, probably the safest place it could have been,
Right.
because like when they would lock that up with security at night, they wouldn't even let Bill and them in there. He was truly locked up. But
Yeah.
I had to go all night not knowing. And and so he was really nice to like, hey, it's gonna be okay. It's locked up. You're all right.
Yeah.
And they went back
But
and looked at the auction area too, because I thought I may have left it on the floor.
man, I'm so glad like you found it and it was safe,
Mhm.
because everyone goes sitting on the binder to get it better. Uh,
Hey, me and him are the same height, so
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
we
you're
are
insulting both of us,
we are
winning.
perfectly made.
But like, man, it's like, can you imagine if you really had lost it? Like, it would have really, like, from a purely selfish point of view, it would have really tainted that whole experience of you getting that art. But it was Castro that found it, or it was
No,
just
he
Castro
he
that
no,
reassured you.
he went and looked in the auction area
Mm,
to go ahead and give me peace of mind that it wasn't there,
right,
which led me like I was at that point I was like, okay, yeah, I probably left it in the gallery, and
right.
so it's safe. I just got to wait till 9 a.m. in the morning. He said, "Man, I had my whole stomach in that call. Sorry, bud. Didn't mean to do that to you at all. Uh, Totally my fault." But
Yeah.
I really did think that there was a chance that it was gone there for a while.
Man, I'm glad that worked out okay. And then, Castro's good people, man. He's yeah. He's
Well, next
beneath that gruff exterior, beneath that gruff Persian exterior, like
he's really
he's a good guy.
he's a sweetie. He's a
He's a
nicey.
sweetheart. He's a sweetheart. Yeah.
I am sad though that I didn't get a sketch card from you.
Hey, so here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I told you uh that's something I wanted to make sure I got done for you. Remember, we talked about it.
Oh yeah, because you were
I
because
wanted to do a 9 by 12
and you
piece.
couldn't understand why I wanted something
No,
smaller.
I couldn't. I couldn't. I was like, does this
I'm
guy
trying to do you a favor. Yeah.
does he think it's in centimeters? Like,
I
what's
remember
going
watching
on?
your brain go, he doesn't
I was like, bro, I'm gonna give you like a 9x12. I want to draw a 9x12. He's like, but what about a sketch card? All right, man. And I think it was your buddy. Your buddy was standing there with you, and then he
Yeah.
said something that actually made it click. Because
Okay.
at that point, because that was like right when I had come up to
Yeah.
introduce myself,
Right.
and so I
Immediately.
hadn't put together that you guys were,
Marvel
the
card.
trading card, Marvel
Yeah.
card, da 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 da. And then when all of that kind of came together, I was like, oh, duh, okay, I get
Yeah.
it now.
To me, I already have the piece I'm going to frame.
Yeah,
Now I want the piece that would go in my collection of cards. Does that make?
yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But by the way, I already laid it out, like what I
Oh.
wanted to do for you, because I'm doing a magic for you.
Uh,
Right, so I've already kind of laid it out. I haven't had a chance to work any further on it because,
yeah.
dude, honestly, I came back from OAX. I was home on Monday, so I got home Sunday night. I had the whole day Monday at home, and Tuesday I flew overseas,
I
and I
see.
just got back last Friday.
We have another artist with an excuse of why it's not done yet. I get it. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It's
I
funny.
will tell you the one thing I stand on is there is no one waiting on art from me. That's
Look,
that's like a straight up.
you said you were very productive. I always joke. You never tell your attorney or your artist you're not in a hurry.
Oh, never. Never. Take your time should not be in your commission vocabulary.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't.
Because if
It
you're
just
not in a
shouldn't.
hurry, there's 10 other people who are, and I'm going to go ahead and take care of them.
That's exactly. Oh, let me just put you here. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm
I mean,
totally kidding. Please don't feel any pressure.
no, not at all, not at all. Of course you were. That's not it. It's but getting back to it, it's I've definitely not forgotten. I have the layout done. I know it's magic. It's gonna be in her more recent Stuart imminent costume, which I think that's what we discussed. Like
Yeah,
that's
I totally love that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's definitely on the cards.
on the cards. I love that.
Yeah.
Good, with the
So
pose. So
but
I
like
gotta ask
when
you this. If
huh?
you could have, and you may color your own stuff, but if you could have one person color the OAX artwork that I got, who would it be?
Digitally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I would think digitally because now I'm not touching that piece. But
Yeah. I would
yeah,
definitely
no,
not do that.
yeah.
But yeah, there's a gentleman by the name of good lord, I'm blanking on him. I've sent like
Ah,
100 people. Dennis Lehman.
Dennis Lehman.
Okay,
Okay.
he does really good work. He's worked on my stuff before.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just getting verklempt here.
I
It's
know.
just- he's worked on stuff that I've drawn before. Like he's done an entire series of stuff. Good guy. Usually like pretty quick delivery. I'll hook you up with him. You can chat with him and
Yeah, if that's something he's interested to do, I think getting it colored would be would be pretty special too.
I think it'd be neat. Like maybe to have him. I'm not trying to tell you, but like have him like side by side, like as a
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that'd be fantastic.
yeah. No, he'll do really good work, and and he's really good about taking. He'll give you a chance to revise it if you didn't like the color scheme or something like that. So
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I would much rather him just talk to you about what you think of the color.
a lot of the times that's generally what happens. Like he'll reach out to me. He's like, hey, someone wanted this piece colored and it's yours, and here's the first go, and I'll say, hey, that's not where I wanted the shadows to go or
Yep.
or whatever.
I would
And
much rather him talk to you about it, and I'll just pay for it and get to enjoy the
he's
final
awesome. He's awesome. He does good work. I'll send you his contact details once we're done.
Perfect.
But magic. Now all I gotta do, man, is like I have the layout for the card. Now all I gotta do is like find where the card itself is.
Well, if you don't have one, just tell me.
I think I have. I think I grabbed like 2 or 3
Of
and
the
they're in one
OAX
of the
cards?
bags. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love it for it to be on that if
Yeah.
possible. I do have one left, but if not, then I'll send you one of my Spidey.
I should have it. I just gotta track it down. Like I said, I unpacked stuff and just kind of put them all over the place. So I just gotta find that, and we'll be.
All right. So I have a question for you, and this one's gonna be tough. So be prepared.
I think I know what the
I'm
question
not
is.
gonna say I'm not gonna say who at the
Uh-uh.
at OAX, but in other conversations, uh, I've been kind of taken aback at the kind of the how do I say this well? Like the insecurities that artists have about their own work. It's like, man, I love it. Oh, really? Do you? Like, I don't know, man. It's not. It's not really good, you know. And I'm like, what are you doing?
See, I would never say that
Yeah,
to somebody whose commission it
you're
is.
right. Right.
Let's say I did a commission for you and you come and you like tell me how much you love it. But in my head, I'm like, man, all I can see is like that hand is at a weird position
Yeah.
or like I didn't draw that foot right. I'm not going to tell you that, man. I mean, what a way to like ruin something,
Uh huh.
for someone who's actually genuinely enjoying it. You're taking your insecurities and making it someone else's problem and like you're ruining their enjoyment of it. But just in general, man, I haven't been doing this for a long time. I've been drawing since I was a kid, but I haven't been putting stuff out there for
Oh,
very
you're a
long.
professional.
What's that?
You were a professional.
I guess I could be called a professional now.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to read the definition to you or something?
Yeah. After getting like some published work under my belt, like that was a thing. But it doesn't that makes no difference to me, man. I mean, it's I'll always be the amount of times I do something and think it's a and like wrap it up and I'm like
Mhm.
that's a slam dunk and then just walk away from it. And then even if I do say that's a slam dunk and I come back like 3 or 4 days later, I'm like, could have done that better. you
It's
know?
interesting you say that. My wife for Valentine's, but also for our Super Bowl party, we painted our companion. So we just sat across from each other and we painted the other person. And then when it was all done, we revealed the paintings to one another.
How
Okay.
cool.
It was really special.
Yeah.
It actually only took like we didn't really miss much of the game. Like we watched all the way up to halftime, and it was through most of the third and fourth quarter. Got to watch the last 2 minutes in the overtime. It really just was perfect. And so I'm painting. I'm drawing my wife, and I'm painting her. And I get to the point where it's like this thing is not perfect at all. I see some things that were not great,
Hmm.
but if I keep going at this one, I'm gonna just mess it up. Like it's just gonna get worse. And I just told myself, like, I got to be okay with what it is.
Sure.
Like it was created in this moment for this situation. And like it just is what it was supposed to be. And it's
Right.
okay for me to now walk away from it. That would not have happened 15 years ago for me.
Hmm.
Like I probably would have been the last one up, would have kept working on it, trying to make it better. And what I know about myself now is that version of me, it was actually never about the painting. It was about the approval that it might give me when somebody looked at it.
Okay.
Where this version of me was just about being okay with who actually was there at the table with me in the painting. And and that's taken a lot of self work for me to get there.
Hmm.
It's not been easy.
Now, is it so the version of you now
Mhm.
that where it's the process and the experience of
Mhm.
who was there with you that you're getting out of is that version susceptible still to the approval or disapproval of that
Oh,
person that you
yeah,
shared?
it's 100%. I'm still the same prideful individual.
Hmm.
I'm just like more aware of how prideful I am now.
Sure. Okay.
Then I probably thought I wasn't prideful. I thought I was just trying to be a good artist, whatever,
Ri-
whatever, whatever. Now I'm like, oh no, I'm like terribly prideful. And if I'm left to my own devices, like I'm a freaking egomaniac. you know? All right, Justin, you need all the help you can get.
Uh,
You know, just enjoy it. It's okay. And so yeah, a lot
no,
of
it's I yeah that I don't know that imposter syndrome, especially when you haven't been doing it a long time. And I've talked to artists who've been doing it for a very long time, 20, 30 years, and some of them still talk about imposter syndrome, and I'm like, well, there's no hope. There's like no hope here. But I think it's fine. I think there's a certain level of humility that is fine as long as it's not false modesty or false humility. You know what I mean? I think there's I think there's room for you. I'm not much of a chest thumper in that
Mhm,
regard. I think there's room for that, and to be humble, and just kind of accept praise. I'm generally,
mhm,
let me put it this way. I have a whole other career, right? And in that career, like, I know I've put the work in,
mhm.
and so when I know I've done a good job, I realize it. Like, hey, I know my worth there. But
Yeah.
in this part of my life, in the art world, there's definitely a part of me that feels like an outsider. I haven't put the work in. I haven't put the time in. I've had some lucky breaks. I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
Now, I've worked hard, right? That's not
Mhm,
there's no question about that. But there's always that part of me that's like, man, you know, I haven't put the work in to deserve like some of the stuff that I've done.
mhm.
You didn't tell me this was gonna become like a therapist
Oh,
couch.
no, I'm sorry. It's,
No,
yeah,
no, no, it's fine. I mean, I'm an open book. I've said this before. I mean, that's not.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just genuinely interested.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
there's definitely to a certain degree. I mean, I'm not racked with anxiety about it.
Mhm.
Let me not come across that way. It's just I'm not like high on my own supply. I'm not like,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? I'm not high fiving myself after I do
Huggy
something.
therapy.
There
That's
you
hilarious.
go. There you go. I think he asked a question too, Marvel Guy
Oh,
239. That
oh, but he
avoid
can't.
drawing hands or feet. What are your thoughts on that? I think part of that is definitely overblown. Um, Hands and feet are not easy. Okay, but they're also not impossible. They're not this entire thing. I think what people fail to understand, like sometimes when you don't draw hands, or you obscure feet, or whatever that may be, is that's just what worked well for the composition. It's
Mhm.
almost impossible to obscure hands. I mean, unless you've got like multiple elements in it. But it's very easy to obscure feet, and sometimes you do it because the composition just kind of works that way. Um, I really don't think there's artists out there that actively hide it. We all know the examples that come to mind.
You talking about Jim Lee feet? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Once
the
you
other
see
guy.
Cyclops' foot in the, Marvel trading card, you can never unsee it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they're definitely not easy because that's the contact point, right? As soon as it's how you ground the character, and some artists are fantastic about it. They're as soon as you look at the way their feet are planted, like they look like they have gravity,
Yeah.
and then there's others who it looks like they're tippy toeing and floating and
Oh,
weightless
why'd
and
you have to
whatever.
say that? I now know that I'm not gonna see feet the same way ever again because you just said that. Thanks.
No, sometimes it just works really well for composition, man. I mean, Rob Liefeld gets a lot of crap for not drawing feet, right?
Yeah.
But you look at and he gets slandered for it. You look at Mike Mignola, you look at a
Yeah.
lot of Mignola's work. There's a lot of smoke and rocks near
Mhm.
feet,
Near feet,
okay?
yeah.
But it just works better. It just works really well for that composition, and
Hey, last I checked, he just retired not drawing feet. So, I guess it worked.
yeah, yeah.
We had this question: Has Salak made an appearance yet? And the answer was, yes, it did. Well, why is it not popping up there? It's like it's there, but it's not popping up. Oh, I think it's because it's not up on your
Oh,
screen.
because I shared it. Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is Southern Comic Geek. I did a thing on the CAF channel once where it was like my buddies were doing an auction show, so like they do this like 10-second memes, and I dressed up as Psylocke for it. I've never lived it down.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
You heard right.
dressed up as Psylocke?
Purple wig, the outfit, the gloves. I mean, waist up. I mean, I kept
Okay,
it
okay.
PG. I kept it PG, but
Inside joke. Oh,
yeah, there
man.
you go.
You
And
know,
they would refer to it as Eranga.
Cyberanga.
Yeah.
Psylocke has actually a really complex comic book history. If you've ever
Yep.
like really dove into it,
Yeah.
and it's not one that I don't know. Like I think even like talking about it, on the channel would be really tough to like go through. To
Yeah.
talk about.
It was Betsy Braddock. Then she went through the Siege Perilous, exchanged bodies with Quanon. How do you say it? Like one
Yeah,
of them.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, there's it, but she's a great character, man.
She's a beautiful character. I
Yeah,
love it. I'm,
great
I
visual,
mhm.
great
The
character.
the
Yeah,
design is spot on.
yeah.
Eranga made a lot of grown men confused for a second. Now it's a therapy session. Eranga,
uh,
what approval were you trying to get when you were wearing the
I, I
style like that? No,
I,
I'm
I,
just
I do not know. I try to fill the hole in my heart that I
kidding.
need, like in terms of validation for my art. And when I
Yeah,
don't
there you
get
go.
it,
If you're not gonna love my art, you'll love me. Yeah.
that's right. There
Well,
you go.
we do love your art, and I certainly do. I'm very excited about owning this
Thank
piece,
you, man.
but even more excited about the friendship. And I really appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. And
Absolutely, dude. Like, and really, honestly, I'm so happy that you turned out to be a nice dude, like a good dude. Like, just from kind of, I was like, especially not knowing who it was that was buying this, because I thought at some point like my friends would try to, whatever, and just knowing that like the three bidders who actually went after it, I didn't know any of them. That
yeah,
was kind of a really cool feeling.
I
Um,
heard that one of the bidders was one person. I'm not gonna say their name, but I
hmm.
was like, okay, that person knows art. I was like, so if they were bidding too, like, there's a reason why I caught my eye. I think I was not alone.
Yeah, I think, and that made me feel good too. I'm not gonna like sit here and toot my own horn, but it was guys that do collect art, and the fact that they made a run at it was cool. But I'm not gonna say I had a favorite or whatever. But I'm glad you won, Justin. I'm glad it
Yes.
was you, and I'm
Me
gonna send
too.
you a link to the recap video so you can kind of watch how it went down, the auction.
I do. I want to see that.
Yeah,
And
I'll send
somebody
you.
came and like stuck a camera in my face at one point, but I haven't seen that video. So,
I think there were like three different videographers. The
uh-huh.
one that was shared on the on CAF Live on the CAF channel was just looking
On the
at the
back.
stage. Yeah, and I think at the very end of it, we see your hammer go
Okay.
up, to show up that you won. So it was like straight up Mjolnir,
Oh,
like in
that's
the
cool.
yeah.
I can't wait to
I'll
see that.
definitely share that with you. But this was really cool, man. I mean, I didn't know what, we didn't talk beforehand about what we're gonna chat
Nope.
about.
I gave you
Uh,
no preparation. That's
no,
what we
and
do
and it's
here.
and it's fantastic, man. I mean, like I'm not shy.
Yeah.
Like I like kind of going with the flow and doing
I
stuff
could
like
tell
that.
meeting with you that this was just going to be us hanging out and people get to watch.
And hopefully they didn't tune out early, but if so, I apologize. Towards the end there, I definitely used it as a forum to exercise some demons.
I have to warn you, you're not the first.
Okay.
Saturday, I had Andre Meister on here, who you saw earlier.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that went 3 hours, and Andre went deep.
Oh, okay.
He went real deep. I mean,
Okay.
it was a lot of fun. Manu, who I mentioned earlier, the
Mm,
9.9 news show, newsstand. The not trying to go deep on purpose. So please don't hear it that way. It's just that when we collect these things and we love them, there's a good chance that we do because they're connected to a positive time in our childhood that masked our was not a part of the difficult times of our childhood.
sure. Yep.
And so the passion that we bring to it is sometimes connected to that. And if you're not awake to it, it can become unhealthy quick.
Yep.
And so it's not my job to try to wake people up, but I got to keep myself awake, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so if my mental capacity that I'm going to give to this hobby just happens to have a camera in front of my face, I'm going to walk through some of it together, and maybe it'll serve somebody in the meantime.
No, I think it's cool. I think more of us need to, I'm not going to use the word vulnerable here, but just be open to kind of sharing how we feel about this, especially. I mean, listen to you talk about your end of the hobby kind of gives me a whole new appreciation for what it is that you guys do on that side. You know what I mean? As a guy that came into it not really knowing much other than over the last week checking out some of your videos and
Yep.
whatever, like other than that, and even then just having questions like, okay, like what is going on, you should really consider like doing like a 101
Uh-huh.
for dummies like me about what maybe you've already done that. I know you have an
I
extensive
haven't.
library of videos that I haven't seen,
I
but
haven't in a concise, dedicated video. Certainly
yeah,
do it when people ask questions and things like that.
yeah,
There's a sad truth that I have to overcome too. Like when you make content, a lot of times you're thinking about the people who know more than you, not thinking about the people who don't know more than you. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like if I'm not saying you do this, but like if you're drawing, you're like, man, what if Alex Ross looks at this? What is he going to think? As opposed to what's somebody like me going to think? Who's the real audience?
You're not too far off, man. I mean, yeah, when I'm drawing and I get critical of
Mhm.
myself, it's because I'm thinking of, oh, like if such and such
Mhm.
artist saw this, they'll see right through like this thing that I think I screwed up or didn't do as well as possible. But without kind of acknowledging the fact that the person I did it for doesn't care about that level of nuance.
No,
Like they just like the piece for what it
but
is. Hopefully,
that happens with the content too. For
yeah,
me, when I'm making Marvel car content, if I'm not careful, like I'm thinking about that person rather than the newbie who just stumbles onto the channel for the first time.
right.
Now, in fairness, I attempt to be educational as I'm opening stuff up. I'm generally giving information the
Yep,
whole time to some
yep.
degree, but this there's some complexities to this hobby that exists right now that are hard to explain in a few snippets. But
Just consider doing a Spidey Hits University.
yeah,
101, just a
101.
101 class.
What about
Just
you?
for people
You
who don't
you come up with the
understand.
questions. We'll just sit down. I'll answer them for you.
There you go, man. Like kind of like what we did today. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Just,
Be fun.
this be a long list of questions, Justin.
He says, Southern Comic Geek says, we are always harder on ourselves than others are, and we can get imposter syndrome. You're a cool artist, Eranga. That's why I have some of it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. That's very cool
Alex
of you.
has
Thank you.
perspective.
Ah,
Our friend, number one Marvel fan, says, yes, a lot of passion in our hobby for sure. Good and bad. A lot of bad for me.
sorry to hear that, man.
Not alone, my friend. We've been there. Switch says, yes, another great interview with another wonderful artist indeed. Thanks, Justin. These have been nice to just sit back and enjoy. Yep. History of Marvel Cards 101. So awesome. Well, man, thank you. We've hit 2 hours. I do need to run. I'm sure you do need to as well. Everybody, thank you for watching. If you're not following Eranga on Instagram, it's Eranga_D.
Eranga.d.art. You're almost there. You're almost there. And it's, hey, one thing we didn't get to real quick
Yeah.
is it's pronounced Devasurendra. Sounds
Dever
like
Surrender. Dever
sounds
Surrender,
like
man.
never surrender.
I got it. Dever Surrender. Eranga
But
Dever Surrender.
that's my pro name to make it easier for you guys. So
And I'm saying it right. Eranga.
Eranga. Yeah.
Eranga. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Well,
Justin.
Justin. Right. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. This was a blast. Thanks to everyone kind of in the comments for checking it out. I really appreciate you guys hanging with us.
Yeah. Awesome. Everybody, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. Hopefully more to come. But as always, I hope you have a marvelous day.